Blah.
Someone hit me up and they'll ask me, "Hey, what is this all about, Beverly?" I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 no." So yeah, all
That
day.
must be so frustrating. That's another thing I didn't even consider. And
Yeah,
so people are coming to you because you guys are all things Return of the Living Dead, saying, "Hey, what's up with this? Are you in blah blah blah?" And you have to explain over and over again, "No, this is not us. This is actually us." And
yes.
this is not has nothing to do with us.
Yeah, I keep bringing up Linnea's movie and then copying it and sending it to Richard, going, "Here's what I wrote. Here's what I wrote." Just trying to keep
Oh
people
my God, you're
focused
right.
on.
Hey, ho, do we have a show for you, man? As a diehard fan of the Return of the Living Dead, this was just such a treat to not only once again have Linnea return to the show, but also with Beverly in tow. So, I had Trash and Tina on the show, and a big shout out to Richard from DragonFlix, who's putting together Trash's Revenge. He put all this together. So shout out to you, Richard. Thank you. Yeah, it was really great to learn more about their project, as well as discuss some of the frustration in the, brand confusion between Steve Walsh's Return of the Living Dead and DragonFlix's Trash's Revenge film that is coming out. I also want to take a moment and put this disclaimer at the beginning of the video before we start. I am speaking from a place of alleged speculation. Me, myself. Anything that Linnea says, anything that Beverly says, they are speaking from their firsthand experiences. I, myself, can only speak from a speculative, alleged standpoint. And therefore, everything that I say in this video has to come with that disclaimer of alleged, because the reality is, while Linnea and Beverly have shared a bunch of information, and again, so grateful to them for coming on and sharing their time with me, and what sweethearts to boot. But, they are inside of this thing that's happening. I am not. I am just a guy on the internet. So everything that I say has an alleged attached to it. Additionally, since we shot this, the very next day, today, the trailer dropped for Return of the Living Dead. And I watched it like everybody else did. And yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, man, I'm kind of underwhelmed. I mean, it's a tall order, man. It's just a tall order, and you'll hear me elaborate further as to why I think Trash's Revenge makes more sense. Mainly because it's not trying to be Return of the Living Dead in the same kind of way that this is trying to be Return of the Living Dead, which I think is the only kind of move. In order to not be compared to flawless greatness, you need to go in a different direction, and it seems like that is what Trash's Revenge is doing in a very subversive way. So I'm very curious to see what they do. Okay, Jeff, enough with the intro. Roll the tape. See you later.
Because it's probably cool for me, different reasons than it's cool for you. Although maybe it's the same. I don't know.
I see smoke.
Incense.
Okay.
Burning incense.
Oh,
So I quit smoking 15 years ago,
okay.
and but occasionally I have this habit, like I light incense in the background because I just like the smoke, but I turn on a fan and I open a window, but I don't know, something
Yes.
about it.
Yeah.
Very happy to be smoke free though.
Good.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Good. Good.
the truth.
Yeah.
There's something, I don't know what it is about this movie that I'm so utterly fascinated by. It's the writing, the storytelling. Dan's script is incredible. I'm in awe of it. The performances, all of your guys' performances blow me away. The sort of the ensemble scenes, the fact that like Dan chose to use he didn't get a lot of coverage. He just sort of shot everything in these big masters, and you guys are all acting off each other. These scenes feel more like they're geared towards the actors than, say, I don't know, the filmmaking itself. And it's wonderful. And I think that's why it's so memorable and it stands up to the test of time. I sit there and every time I watch the movie, I see something new and interesting. And last time we talked about the mushrooms. And Bev, I'm curious to know the mushrooms in the scene when Trash and Spider are sitting there and Trash is about to take off her clothes and whatnot. There are
Yeah.
these giant mushrooms in the foreground. Do you remember anything about these mushrooms? Do you know what I
Oh my gosh,
know?
yes. He kept moving them around and placing them. It was like almost like more important than my scene. It was like these mushrooms had to be here and there, and he kept moving them.
That's so funny. I don't remember that. That's just so funny. But
Oh, I
Dan
do.
very neurotic about everything. Everything had to
Yes.
be just, he'd act our parts out for us. He'd walk the way he'd want us to go. He was very hands-on.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
here's another mystery that perhaps one of you could answer. I was always, and it's funny, every time I've like done one of these interviews, I think like, I've spoken to William Stout, spoken to Miguel. Who else did I have on my show?
Alan?
Um, no, I have not. Oh my God, I would love to talk to him. Wow.
Yeah.
But no, I have not spoken to him yet. But there's always some mystery of, again, like just things like little interesting details that I'm just trying to figure out. This is one photograph that's been used in a lot of promotional stuff, particularly towards the soundtrack. But it's like, seems like it could just be like a promotional still. It seems like the guy, who was the guy before Munns, right? Or was Munns the first guy? Who was the guy?
Yes.
Munns. Okay, so maybe this is some of Munns's work before he was dismissed. I've never been able to make sense of this picture. I would love if either one of you, I don't know, can you see this picture here with this
Yes.
album cover?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what is that from a scene? Is that just like, what do you remember from this, if anything at
I
all?
think that's an extra. Those are extras.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
just a
Yeah.
compilation of extras.
Yeah.
But that wasn't like Bev, particularly, I'm curious to know, do you remember anything that you guys might have shot that got cut and never seen the light of day?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was cut. But I can't remember. I'd have to look at my script. But yeah, there was
Mm.
stuff that was cut. Yeah, yeah. Uh, oh, I wish I would have known that question before and I could have gone through it and looked. But yeah, they did cut some stuff out.
Do you remember and did you guys shoot anything with chickens? No,
Chickens?
I'm so serious because
Yeah.
in the
No, I mean,
script,
yeah.
in like one of the early drafts of the script, there is a scene where you guys are all driving in the car and like you drive through like some chickens or whatever. It's like this tiny
Okay.
little cutaway. I was like, "What? What is this?"
No,
Oh,
it's
that's
not.
weird.
Well, it might have been a don't run over chickens kind of thing. So they just pulled the chickens out of this. I don't know. But no, we didn't have any chickens for sure.
Wow. Wow. I mean, but like that's like the type of stuff. It's like, and I don't know what it is. There's something about like the things that we love that we need to see every little like frame, scrap of minutia and want to pour over it. And that's why, you guys are both involved with that incredible documentary that came out a while back, More Brains in 2011.
I have to tell you, the cemetery scene blew my mind because all the trees, all that moss, they hung
Yeah.
on that. They hung every piece of everything.
Spanish moss.
Yes, it was magnificent when we walked onto it. And, of course, it all went away, but it was crazy. It was beautiful, just
That
beautiful.
was.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Growing up as a kid, every time it would rain in the summer, I would think about that cemetery and when it would rain really heavy and like my imagination would run wild with me. And it was always like a summer thing, like, oh my God, like they're all going to come out of the ground. And it all came from that cemetery, from that moss that was
Oh,
hanging from the
wow.
tree. Yeah, so
Did you
strange.
want that to happen, like a zombie apocalypse, or were you
No,
scared?
I previously said the last time that we spoke, I had previously talked about I had discovered Return of the Living Dead on Sci-Fi Channel and I taped it and I watched, it was only half the movie and I watched it over and over and over again, like until the tape wore out. It was just, it was terrifying to me. And the things that, like kind of kinder trauma, the things that terrify you fascinate you. And
Yes.
particularly the idea that these types of zombies, they could not be killed. They just kept coming back.
You said you only saw half of the movie?
I saw the second half of the movie forever for like a year and a half. This was 1995. I was 10 years old. It was 1995. I was born in 85. So it's like, so Return of the Living Dead is like my, birth, like my spirit movie, that kind of thing. And I just, I don't know. It was just something that I watched, something about like, oh my God, like they move really fast and they eat brains and they talk. And, again, the beautiful thing, to go back to the writing for a minute, the amazing thing about the writing is that every scene cascades into the next scene. Like the situation gets worse and worse and worse until Dan is like, we can't, what else can I do except blow it all up?
You're right.
And so
The
he blows it
awful
all up.
army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of saying, oh, screw the man,
Yeah. Like basically, yes. And so I don't know. It's just a fantastic movie. And now, here's the thing, like, there's been sequels, there's been stuff that's, happened. There were projects that like didn't happen. William Stout had something he was trying to get off the ground. I know Don had something he was trying to get off the ground. Do you remember anything about those projects particularly?
I don't. I read Dawn's, and now I believe it's the same thing that was put into the comic books.
Gotcha.
And
The
then my
comic book.
husband and I tried to get it going as well, but I can't tell you the idea because we now have another party interested, but
Well, that's good.
it doesn't have anything to do with Linnea's. It doesn't have anything, of course, to do with Steve Walsh's. But the attorneys, we went to the attorneys and the MGM and all of the people, and the rights are just so torn apart in every direction that even the studios couldn't figure it out. So they could not say, yes, here you go. This is what we have. This is what we can work with. So it's just like, we don't know what to do. We can't tell you anything. So it's a crazy thing, the rights.
Right. So initially, to trace the lineage, and for anybody who's watching this who's not familiar, the history is very convoluted. It all begins with, and please correct me on any of this if I have any of it crossed. It starts with Night of the Living Dead and John Russo writing a story called Return of the Living Dead in 1978, the same year that Dawn of the Dead came out. However, this version of Return of the Living Dead is entirely different, has nothing to do with anything. It gets optioned as a movie. And then Dan eventually, after Tobe Hooper was going to do it, he didn't end up doing it, right? Then Dan comes in. Dan wants to do a page one rewrite, keeping the title, and he, very wisely and brilliantly decides, I'm going to, in sort of out of respect for George, I'm going to do something completely different. I don't want to, as they say, ape on his gig. I don't want to rip off what he's doing. I want to do something that we haven't seen before. So he writes a new script, which ironically is then John Russo is hired to then adapt that script into a novelization.
Yes. He has the novel of it. Yes.
Right. So he did the novelization based on the title, just the title, because the idea is entirely different. It's Dan's idea.
Yeah.
But it's written by John Russo. And so already, like right there, that's very confusing. And then this guy comes in who you guys knew, Tom Fox. He's the producer, right?
Yes.
He comes in and he's like, I'm going to make this movie, or I'm going to turn this into a movie. And you guys make the movie, and then he's involved with the sequel, Return of the Living Dead Part 2, and that went the way that it went. And then at some point, I don't know if he retained the rights for Part 3 when John Penny, who was the assistant editor on Return of the Living Dead Part 1, and Brian Usna come in and with Trimark, and they do their thing. I don't know if Tom Fox is still involved, but Tom Fox passes away, and his son is then in custody of some of these rights.
Yeah, I believe in his mother, mostly his mother, Mrs. Fox.
Gotcha.
I think she owned it, not the son. And because I just spoke with him recently, and so we're not sure. Here's where all the mess comes in. We're not sure what exactly Tom Fox still owned. We don't know what he actually sold to Steve Walsh, Mrs. Fox. So we tried to talk to them and find out, and they couldn't talk about it. They couldn't say anything. And so we don't know what really is going on right now. We know that the gentleman that Richard, who's doing Linnea's movie, has quite a few aspects of the rights of the movie as well. So, and we know Amazon owns the movie. We know MGM has a piece of the movie. So right now it's just like,
Well,
when we were
could you
doing
explain? Sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm so
No,
sorry. Go
when we
ahead.
were doing the
Continue.
documentary, the Anatoly, I can't remember his Anatoly, I can't remember his last name, but he had done, I think, produced, was it 4 and 5? He came after us for the documentary. He goes, "Oh, no, 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 you don't. You can't do that. You know, I own it. I own it." And of course, we can do a documentary. So we went and did that. But go ahead, your question. It just,
No, I that was literally you already you basically, that was going to be my next piece, was like, so then at some point this guy is able to do, and I remember because I was waiting forever for those to come out. He
yeah,
gets the ability to do, he shoots 2 movies back to back, which were in development hell
yeah,
forever. And I remember seeing on IMDb Necropolis and Rave from the Grave. And my mind, I was like, what on earth is Necropolis going to be? And what is, like, what, we have these tiny little synopsises. And then it turned out to be the worst sci-fi channel, straight to TV
yeah,
garbage. Just
yeah.
I
really
haven't seen
sad.
it.
Don't.
Yeah, I I haven't either. Yeah,
Nobody ever talks about it.
no, no.
At one point, the rights to those movies were for sale on eBay for $50,000.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but explain to me this. So, how does it work in? And this is something that maybe goes over my head. So, what is it that, like, we're talking about rights? Like, usually when you think of rights to a movie, and again, I'm speaking from a place of naivete and not understanding. What are the things that you can have rights to? How is it that some things can be like, oh, I have rights to this, but you have rights to that? Is it kind of like, I know that, like, with Friday the 13th, Victor C. Miller and Sean Cunningham owns, like, Friday the 13th, but Victor C. Miller owns Jason the character. Is that kind of like what's happening here with Return of the Living Dead?
Well,
Kind of. We
yeah.
found out Walsh has like copyrights, isn't it, Bev?
Well, he only has, we've already looked up what he has. He only owns copyrights to do blood and to do ward costumes, but he doesn't really even have the rights to do that with Return of the Living Dead. So he went and he's
Right.
filed all of these licenses to acquire all of these licenses, and that's all he basically has is makeup and blood,
Well,
which
what
is
is blood exactly? Like blood?
theater blood, theater blood.
That's
So
it?
yes. So what he actually has is nothing, but he goes around telling all of these vendors that he owns everything, and he tells them, "You give me $5,000. You're using this. I own this. I own this." And he's done it
Yeah.
to the t-shirt people, to some guy who just messaged me. He painted a picture, and I'm not going to give out names. He painted a picture, and Steve Walsh contacted him and said, "You owe me. You send me the picture. I want money from you, and I want a percentage of all the sales of what you're doing." He goes, "I just did three things here. I'm just selling it as a fan, you know." And he goes, "Well, you can't do that." And he went after this poor guy. He took
Are
the
you
art.
serious?
Yes, I just got this story yesterday. And then we've got Matt,
Oh,
the other gentleman who actually was really great in helping us out. He said that Steve Walsh actually told him that we were working with Steve Walsh and that we had to approve the artwork for whatever it was he was selling. So he's been selling our images illegally and telling people that we're working with him. And then he was using our images to sell other products. So, which you can't do. And he's paid us nothing for this, and he's completely lied to everybody about it. So that's what our lawsuit is about against Steve Walsh. And then he turned around and tried to sue us for $1 million. And
yes.
but that got kicked out right away. So, oh, thank
But
God.
but he's like stepped it up since we're going after him. Like
Oh,
video game, he's trying to say he's doing the movie. all this stuff all of a sudden. He had, what was that? He had the Kickstarter or something like that,
Yeah,
and
well, I
got
think
how
this,
much money from the
uh,
fans?
I think he had two different Kickstarters, and I believe would have to look at my paperwork, but like for 45 grand each. So he's been making a fortune off of us, and now we're trying to settle. And he goes, I'd rather give the money to the attorneys. I don't want to pay them. And he, on top of it, he tells everybody he hates the movie, hates our movie. And it's like, why is he profiting off of it like he is then? You know, he makes no sense. He makes no sense.
Now, one thing I can surmise, and again, I can only, I speak from speculation only, and I'll use the word allegedly in everything that I say here
Yes,
because I
yes,
don't know, and we're speaking from an alleged place, or I'm speaking from an alleged place personally. The reason for why one in a scenario like that might do something like that is because, and I've seen this elsewhere, I've seen it in the music world, by part of like copyright, like the bizarre nature of copyright. Here's the problem with copyright. This is stuff that I do feel confident in speaking on a little bit, is that you can own everything's copyrighted technically. Like everything is copyrighted. But ultimately what it comes down to is if you need to have money and lawyers to protect the copyright, because if you don't, then people will be like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Like, you got to do something, right? So you end up like, that's how wars in courtrooms are fought. And part of setting like a precedent in front of a judge is by establishing use of the mark. So you said all this, that he's all of a sudden he's doing, movies and video games and yada, 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 and all this stuff. It's
yeah.
to establish ownership through use and
Yeah,
profit.
he's just continually trying to grab everything he can. Absolutely. But in the use of our images, we own our faces.
Right to
And
publicity.
right, yeah. He can't accept, yeah, for the movie only. For Return of the Living Dead, they were allowed to use our images for that only. But now you can't resell our faces and sell merchandise. He can't
Right.
do that. Yeah.
He's technically, allegedly, I'll say he
You say
is.
allegedly.
I say allegedly
Yes.
because but
You
I
don't.
just, you don't, but you understand why I'm saying that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Um Allegedly, because you are entitled to your right of publicity, and that's being infringed upon,
Yes.
where license, that's like why, like, for instance, for when they do a re-release or whatever, when, like, for instance, when Scream Factory put out that, what I consider to be the definitive, although I'll say I was very annoyed as a fan. I was very happy. I was stoked to have it. I was very upset. We were initially promised completely restored work print with the 24 extra minutes of footage, and we only got what had been circulating on the internet forever. The
Oh,
really, and I
yeah.
was just so bummed because I
Yeah.
wanted the full Monty, and
Oh,
we got so close. We didn't get it. It was so
I'm
close.
gonna have to read this, go through the script and find what's missing, you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, like, ultimately, we should be so thankful that the work print even exists, because there is 24 minutes that's not in
Yeah.
the finished film, right? And like alternate stuff, and just little this and that, dribs and drabs. Um, but when they were doing, to go back to the screen releasing, when they're doing that, when they're doing the posters and stuff, they got to contact you guys and be like, hey, we want to, like, use your image for this new poster, right? Like, don't you have
Right.
to sign off on that technically?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what he's saying. He was telling the vendors that the cast has to sign off on what I'm merchandising. And that wasn't true. None of us knew anything about it. We just found out. We didn't know who was selling the merchandise. We just found out it was all him. And this has been going on for like 6 years. So for a very long
Yeah.
time. But here's an interesting thing that really annoyed me today is that seeing the bloody disgusting article about Walsh's movie coming out or whatever he's doing. I don't know. He's been saying this for years. It shows Linnea's face as trash.
On
It's like
Fangoria. I have it
also,
right here. It's
yeah, also on
crazy.
Bloody Disgusting. It's so insulting. It's so insulting. How
It's
dare
right
they
here.
use Linnea's image for that, you know? When this guy has done all that he has done to us, it's infuriating. Yes. Oh, it makes me
This is
so,
what this is what Bev is referring to right now. I mean, this really is it really is insane. I thought that was insane as well.
yeah, it
That
has
is,
nothing
I
to
couldn't
do.
believe that.
Yeah,
He's like just really, I mean, I was at a Texas convention and here's another thing, another pop-up popcorn or whatever that he put out of
yeah,
me and suicide. It's just like he keeps doing it in our faces.
yeah. And he just is nasty about it. Just nasty.
I will say,
Yes.
in looking at these two stills, I guess we'll know more tomorrow. But
Yeah,
I'm not, I
no,
mean, I'm not sure that this could be potentially some sort of AI thing. I'm not sure if
yeah.
this is even, who knows? I don't know. We'll
All
we'll
right.
find out.
It looks like it to me,
Yeah,
but we'll see.
yeah,
So right. So this is a very strange thing. I will say, I'll put this off on a sidebar. I a long time ago, many years ago in 2021, I initially was interested in, I wanted to do my own fan story of the origin of the Tarman. And
yeah,
I was like, where did the Tarman come from? I wrote this whole story about it. And I was like, this is so interesting. And I was like, it'd be really, I know so many artists, it'd be really cool to do like a little comic thing. But if I did it, I would want to do it like officially. I would not want to do it. So I went to that page and I said, "Hi, I would like to speak to whoever. Do you know? Can you put me in contact with who?" Because I didn't know. I didn't know what, like, who's in charge, who has the rights. I
yeah,
wanted to legitimately see if it was possible. Like, what would the license cost? I wanted to license it,
yeah,
and that was my interaction
yeah. And
with
Walsh.
with
And what did
Walsh.
he do? He wanted, how much did he want? 5 grand?
He gave me his phone number and we spoke on the phone. We had this whole conversation and he was very nice to me over the phone. And he very like, he was like, I'm doing all this stuff. And this was years ago. This was like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. It was, I'm
Yeah.
doing all this stuff. It's coming out. There's no room for your story. But what's your address? I'll send you a box full of stuff. So he sent me a box full of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for this movie. He did Kickstarters, a
Right.
bunch of Kickstarters,
Yes.
nothing ever came.
Right.
And so I was sitting there going, and then all of a sudden, you guys banding together to do your film. And now everything is full, like full
Full on.
blown. Yeah. Full on.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he's doing a movie.
Full speed. Because of Linnea's movie. He's panicking because Linnea's movie is going to be fantastic. And he saw all this. He already, I believe he told Richard, the producer director, you cease and desist. You can't make this movie. And he can
That's
make the
right.
Yeah, so now he's trying to get his movie out as quickly as he can because he's afraid of Linnea's movie. Because Linnea's movie has cameos with the whole cast, including a couple of our deceased cast
The
members.
paramedic.
Yeah, we love so much. Yeah. And but we also need to note that he's using Tarman and William Stout owns Tarman. So I don't know how he's getting away with using Tarman. This is going to be interesting because I've been messaging with Bill Stout and he's like, yeah, Beverly, send me everything you see about what he's using for Tarman. And I've just been sending it. And it's like now he's using Tarman in his new movie. Bill Stout
Yeah,
owns
he is.
Tarman. He owns Tarman and he owns the Half Corpse and he also owns the Return of the Living Dead font. So
Which is why the thing that's being advertised so quite clearly, and for anybody, and again, I speak from a place of alleged because I'm just trying to be careful. But here's the thing. if we just saw the image Return of the Living Dead. We don't see the blood splattered classic logo that's so iconic that's been used in merchandise. I wonder why that is.
Oh, hey, hi. Just pausing real quick to interrupt and say something that was not said when we were all talking and sort of like ruminating on this subject here. If you notice, Steve Walsh's movie is called Return of the Living Dead instead of The Return of the Living Dead. Do you think that is on purpose or by accident? The two sequels are Return of the Living Dead Part 2, Return of the Living Dead Part 3. But the original, The Return of the Living Dead, is The Return of the Living Dead. Trademarked, The Return of the Living Dead. That, to me, makes me raise my eyebrow for a bunch of different reasons. It also speaks to, why are you not using the font and logo, the official one, the one that everybody knows, the iconic one?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I wonder too.
And that could be because what is being said here is true. He doesn't own, because
Sure.
if he did, why wouldn't he use it?
Right. And
You're right. I never thought of that.
our images have finally disappeared off of his website. Everything is gone now, finally.
Because he
After all
wants to just
Yeah.
make a movie. That's what he wants to do. He just is like, I'm going to make a movie. And probably, and here's the problem with something like the Tarman, which is the most wonderful, iconic boogeyman ever, but can also be, there's so many derivatives that someone could pass off and say, this is Tarman, even though it's quite clearly not the Tarman.
Well, they're calling it Tarman, and they also asked Alan Trotman to go over and help them make all the moves. And Tony
Really?
Gardner is the one who built the Tarman. So
Right.
we'll have to see what it looks like. And I mean, Tony's by the book. He's a great guy. We love Tony. He's working on Linnea's film as well.
I was about to say, is he working on both movies? Because I saw him his name involved in that one too. And I was like, wait, what? So I
Yeah.
wasn't sure.
He is, yeah. He's working on that. But you know what? It's work. It's not like he's partnered with Steve Walsh to
Yeah.
do anything. It's just work to him. And he's going to get hired to do a thing over there, and he's going to get hired to do a thing over here. And that's just the way it is. We don't expect people to turn down work like that. I mean,
Sure.
he got hired, but Steve Walsh saying a long, 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 long time ago, because Steve Walsh allegedly had to raise money to build the Tarman. He was asking vendors to put money up to build the Tarman. So
what about all these busts that I see? I see all these beautiful, incredible
Beautiful.
pieces,
yes,
right? So
right.
are they going to Walsh and licensing these
Walsh
things?
I'm
is
sure they are.
Yes, Walsh is licensing all of those beautiful pieces, but
Mhm.
William Stout owns Tarman. So we've sent all that to Bill Stout. He's aware of it. He's amassing all of this information.
That is egregious. If that's what's happened, if
Yeah.
Bill Stout has not given his blessing and he is the
That's right.
owner, that is an egregious infraction that should be,
Yeah, it
I
is.
hope gets handled, because again, talk about, I mean, that's like, I mean, that is crazy. Allegedly, that is crazy IP theft. Like, that's insane. That's really
Yeah.
insane.
Well, what's weird is Trash's Revenge has nothing to do with really Return of the Living Dead.
No.
It is just like, it's not like a sequel or anything like that. So I don't know why Walsh is like even thinking he has like
Any rights?
a grip on it, because it's got singing and dancing and
Explain that. So what is going on with Trash's Revenge?
I just have to say the part that was written for Tom and I, and Linnea's of course in the scene as well. I'm so excited. I can't even breathe. I can't, I don't know if Linnea, are we allowed to say, yeah, it's a musical to some degree.
Yes.
It's so good.
yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm so excited. And just quick note to show the difference that Steve Walsh used us and never paid us. The gentleman who's producing and directing Linnea's movie, he's already paid some of us and given us deposits to say, hey, come on, I want you on my team. I want you to be in this movie. He
Right.
already ponied up to bring us in. So he's a kind gent. I'm really honored to be working with him. But I'll stop because Linnea, I'm sure wants to talk about her movie. But I am so excited. I just am so excited about our scene.
I know it's great. I thought Beverly will either love it or go, oh my God, what is this?
Did go, oh my God, oh my God, and then I'm like, oh my God.
I know it's really fun. It's like a fun film, and it's got like Sunset Boulevard vibes, and it's got just all these things going on with it,
Norma
which
Desmond.
makes it fun.
So Norma Desmond, a zombie Norma Desmond in a way, where she's going
Yes.
back to Hollywood and she comes into Hollywood and she wants to she gets a taste of it and she wants to be a part of all of that. But she's also a zombie and she has to eat and feed and all that. And there's music and like she said, it's Sunset Boulevard, it's Hollywood. It's really cool. It's
Here's what has me excited about something like that, and where the again the sort of integrity of doing something. It's one thing to do a straight sequel, and I have no problem with straight sequel to Return of the Living Dead. That's
yeah.
fine with me. I love Return of the Living Dead, but at the same time, especially with some a franchise where the original is so utterly beloved and everything is compared to it and nothing can compare to the original, and a situation where you want to bring back everybody in a way that works in a movie where everybody literally exploded at the end. What do you do? And by making this sort of like spiritual companion, whatever you want to call it, it's like you get to all come back and play. You're not trying to be like, hey, we're not trying to overwrite Return of the Living Dead. We're not trying to be a sequel to Return of the Living Dead. But we are very much in connected to Return of the Living Dead. And so you can love us right next to loving Return of the Living Dead. You don't have to choose between
No.
Return of the Living Dead and us, right? Like
You will not
Yeah.
have to choose. This is brilliant. It's brilliant where we've got all the characters that we love, and it's going to stand right next to our original movie. Completely different, but right there, and it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be wonderful.
Have you guys had any like Zoom sort of rehearsal meetings, discussions, sort of stuff yet?
No,
Or is
because this whole Walsh thing has like thrown us off track because we were gonna like start the campaign like 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Yeah, probably 3 months ago now.
right? It was an
Yeah,
Indiegogo, and
and
that got
now
frozen
it's gonna be on the 20th
Of
of
January.
this month.
Oh,
We're
is it
gonna
this?
start it.
through Cinebacker. It's going to be through Cinebacker, and I might as well. I haven't done it yet. Obviously, I don't have the link, but link is going to be down in the description to find out more information. So you'll go down
Oh,
into the
good. Oh, good.
description.
Yeah, because every
It'll be
time
down
that
there.
we would like put up, it's gonna like start. Walsh would say send another lawyer type letter and call. We were going through
Indiegogo.
Indiegogo,
Yeah,
and he would call them and say, I own it, I own it. And so they were afraid to like do anything.
yeah.
So
So it would be pulled down.
he's basically
The bad guy.
he's an obstacle in the
Yeah.
progress of the things that you are trying to accomplish here.
Yeah.
And
Not
that
only has he used us and beaten us up, now he tells us we can't do anything ourselves. You own nothing. You can't do anything. It's like, who is this guy? Who does he think he is? It's been very stressful.
now, do you think that if if he was not in the way,
Mm.
and if the rights were a little bit more clear, is that part of the reason why you came to this creative place for something like Trash's Revenge, because it allows you to sort of do something that doesn't, especially when all these issues are kind of murky, or a variety of them, in a world where at the end of the day, all you really have, you have the right to your publicity, and Will Stout has the right to his stuff. Like, does that makes it easier to do all that?
I don't think that Well, Linnea can answer much better than I can, but I don't think that Richard was ever thinking anything about that. I think he had some
Mm.
phenomenal idea and just went for it. But Linnea, what do you know about that?
I think that, because it was so different and he checked into Walsh,
He did.
he didn't think that this guy would react like this.
Yeah.
That only owns, finding out that he only owns blood, theatrical blood and makeup something,
Well,
scary makeup kits or something,
I still don't understand
that
how
he would
that
do
works.
this.
How does that work, and how does that work as it relates to Return of the Living Dead? Like, what is that? It's
there's a very interesting point here is in that our attorney, Larry Zerner, and Richard's attorney and other attorneys who are having to deal with Steve Walsh have all asked to see what do you own? Show us, prove it. Tell us what you have.
The
They won't show anybody.
chain of title or
Chain
something.
of title. Won't show it to anybody. Well, we have chain of title. Well, then show us. Tell us what you have, and then we'll back off. He won't open it up, won't show it to anybody.
so isn't there a thing like isn't there a thing where like what's it called, like discovery period, like where you get to like you exchange materials in the sense of discovery?
Yeah, and I don't know when that happens, but yeah, but he doesn't want to share anything. He just, we're going to have to subpoena him to have his paperwork opened up. That's where it's going to end up, is that we're going to have to
You're right. He wanted to pay us a little bit of money, didn't he?
Oh.
He wanted to settle, and now he says he won't settle until Linnea and Beverly stop advertising Trash's Revenge. That's what he said in the last letter from his attorney. We won't
believe
discuss
anything
the
he
settlement. We won't discuss the settlement until Linnea and Beverly stop promoting Trash's Revenge.
What do you think you know about stickers? RiotStickers.com. That's right, Riot Stickers is the sponsor of the Frumess channel, and here at Riot Stickers we have a very special promotion going on where you can get 100 die cast stickers for $33, or maybe you want 200 stickers, you can get those for $66, or maybe you want 300 stickers for $99. You're not going to find a better deal on the internet. Go to the link down in the description, riotstickers.com/Frumess. That's FRUMESS. You could get 300 stickers of the Tarman saying more brains. Again, if you legally license the image from William Stout himself, which you should do so that proper people get paid doing it, because that's how things work. The sky is the limit. Remember what Sprite used to say in the 90s? Image is everything. Obey your thirst. So go to riotstickers.com and take an image that you really appreciate, again, with the right permission, and print it up yourself and stick it everywhere. Plaster your city with your image or a image. Riotstickers.com.
Posters and promo cards, there's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shirts, we can print on hats, we can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality, quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support, great customer service, and so much more. We are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
Who is he? And I just said to Larry, who is he to tell us what we can and cannot do? He is in the wrong. He owes us money. I won't say.
So, what's interesting too, like, and again, it goes back to what I was saying before about like, trying to use of mark to prove ownership. That's ultimately what it's a race for. It allegedly seems to be a race for, because by getting to that finish line of having a movie called Return of the Living Dead, he can then better push his claim or whatever claim, alleged claim that's allegedly murky, in terms of like, oh, well, see, I made a movie called Return of the Living Dead, and I've been licensing, and I'll tell you, I have friends, my friend from I brought him up last time. You met him too, Bev. This guy, Jason Trioxin, his band Mr. Monster, rest in peace, Jason.
We love him. Yeah. Linnea and I have a beautiful picture of him from Monster Mania way back with the tattoos and he had autographs on his arm and he was a lovely guy.
His bandmate from that band Mr. Monster, the Tina and Freddie song or whatever.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So he's a big fan of Return of the Living Dead, and he, as a fan, is like, what is all this stuff? Like you're doing like Tarman, like Christmas bobblehead, like, or like candy corn Tarman, like
smells like cinnamon and pumpkin spice and the rubber yarn doll.
There was one design where I was just like, I was scratching my head. I'm going, what on earth is this? It was the Tarman as the Scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz. And I'm going, I'm scratching my head. I'm going, what is the connection? Well, I figured it out. What do you think it might be? Why would he connect the Tarman and the Scarecrow?
But I don't know why he did Tarzan as well. I don't know. We were all looking for him. He's just ruining the franchise. He's ruining the franchise. I mean,
it was because the Scarecrow says, if I only had a brain.
Oh, well, there we go.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It's such a dad joke. It's so funny. Like, yeah, but like, that doesn't it really does it kind of, again, and I'm saying this from a fan perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this as a disparaging remark. I'm saying this as a fan who passionately loves Return of the Living Dead. It does water down what the essence of Return of the Living Dead is. It's hyper marketing, and what is, again, why is there hyper marketing? Allegedly, because allegedly by hyper marketing, he is allegedly trying to establish his mark, and claim ownership by being
using
bullish.
By using our faces. Yeah.
But you are entitled to your right of publicity, especially because you guys are actresses and you started a movie and you go to conventions and you earn a living from selling autographs or whatever. You do that whole thing, however you do. And therefore your right to your publicity is like, from like a public standpoint should be protected.
Well, he had one of the last things that we saw was he was selling gummies, the CBD or the tea, whatever the gummies.
Oh no.
Yes, with all of our with the Return of the Living Dead images on it. It was embarrassing. It was whoever wants to take those things, that's fine. More power to you. But don't use us to advertise that. It's like
that's weird.
Poor taste, just in poor taste.
I'm surprised there's no condoms.
Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Tarman condoms coming soon.
I wouldn't doubt it if they put those out.
I wouldn't either. Him. Yeah, his company.
Well, I mean, he was doing hot sauce too. Like, I mean, they're just, again, eventually, so here's the thing. Like I said, initially, he had sent me some stuff. Like, he was like, here, like a pat on the head. Like, here you go. Like, here you go. Here's a box full of stuff, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, got a poster, got a t-shirt, whatever. That made sense. But then there's things like hand sanitizer, and then there's like hot sauce, and then there's like, and I'm just going, what is the strategy here? What is the point of this? This is, it's like, it's trying to create a brand out of something, and it sort of gnarls it. And slowly I was going, is a movie ever coming? This guy said he was making a movie. There's no movie. So for 4 or 5 years, he was allegedly making a movie. As he allegedly had told me, and now there's nothing. And then all of a sudden, Trash's Revenge comes. What you guys as a whole cast? I know how you two feel. I don't know if you could speak on this. The others, how do the others together? Are you guys like? Is there like a united front in this matter? If they're in the movie as well, in the Trash's Revenge movie, or like what's the deal with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, we're all united in the lawsuit. Absolutely. We all signed on to the same attorney. We email and message all day long with each other. So we're all talking all the time about everything. And for Linnea's movie, yeah, we're all in it, including Don Calfa and James Karen.
Can you
Yes.
explain how that's possible exactly?
It's gonna be, I can't give it away.
Okay,
It's
all
gonna
right.
be a fantastic scene, and
Great.
it's gonna make everyone happy. It's gonna warm everyone's hearts. It's gonna be beautiful. Right, Linnea?
Because
Yes.
those
I
those
agree.
two
Yeah.
they are remarkable. And I sat, we last time we spoke, Linnea, we were talking, and I was reveling in Don's performance, and I mean both of their performances. What makes the comedies work so well, from I guess like from just watching it from like a performance standpoint, is the conviction. Because there's many different ways to do comedy, and but what they do in the movie, the way that Dan or however, like, had them, or they chose, it was their choice, whoever's choice it was, to play it so straight, with such
Yes.
conviction, with such seriousness, that the comedy ends up being almost like this byproduct. It's not intentionally funny, but it is hysterical in its own kind of way. And that's where Return of the Living Dead has this reputation for being, a fun sort of comedically horrific movie in a way.
Well, there's a thing to that. At one of the screenings with the public, everyone started laughing, and Dan O'Bannon was like, "Why are they laughing? Why are they laughing?" So there's a whole thing about this. It was not intended to be a comedy. It just worked out to be, the scenes ended up being funny, so maybe attention funny. I don't know, but they're actually very funny. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be a comedy. And Dan was a little taken aback when people were laughing when he first heard the public laugh.
But doesn't that speak? But doesn't that speak to like the craft of acting, and the idea of like, if horror is here and comedy is like directly on the other side, like colors, like how you have like opposite, like complementary colors. Horror and comedy are these two things. They're full of physicality, all slapstick. One is like violence. I mean, I guess they're both violence actually, but one is violence for laughs and one is violence for, whatever, for fright. And if you're trying to be funny, it's not going to be funny. But if you're not trying to be funny, it's going to be hysterical. And that's what makes the scenes where those guys, when Thom and James are just the back and forth between the two of them, and then Don gets thrown into the picture, and I
It's
sit
so
there.
funny.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite scene?
I mean, like I said, I can't count the times that I have seen Return of the Living Dead, but it is like, I don't know. I literally do not know since 19. So, for 30 years now, I've been watching the movie.
Wow.
I don't have, some people have been watching it way longer than 30 years, but I just, but it quite possibly is my most seen film of all time. Very possibly. And my favorite scene changes all the time. Like I said, I'm always noticing different things. And like, I pick up, like, for instance, when they're in the embalming room, and, Don Calfa's ripping the jumpsuit after it gets torn by the arm. Yeah. And he's cutting it. And you see Thom. Next time you guys watch it, go look at Thom is like making faces with James in character. They're in character. Like, is he going to go for it? Like it's part of the routine, as Clue is like talking to Don about like, hey, like, are you going to do me this favor? And like, they're kind of making, and I'm like, oh my God, like I just like these little moments, those become my new favorite moments because I'm just like,
Yeah.
they're just things that I just never like, noticed before. And I've heard all the, we could have sat here and done a paint by numbers, the interview that you guys have done a billion times where you talk about all the like with all, if you go rent Return, More Brains and hear all the stories there because you guys tell them so well in More Brains. One thing I'm curious to know that the basement set. By the way, so we have a giant oil drum over there, and I always tell my children, my 5-year-old and my 9-year-old, Tarman posters are all up over here. I have the Scream Factory Tarman. So like, who's that? So they know about the Tarman. They know how my relationship with the Tarman. But I always knock on the oil drum in good fun, Say, I'm gonna wake up the Tarman. He's sleeping in there. Just around the house, that sort of thing. That set was just like, it was just two walls together and then exposed, or was that actually like a building? Like what was that set?
It was a set. It was 2 walls with the stairs going up, and then the crew was all right here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I think it
But
was.
we were inside a big building.
Yeah, and everything was built on one level. So nothing. There was no upstairs. There was no downstairs.
Wow.
It was just set. Yeah, and we were in a big building here in Burbank.
Because that basement has again captured my imagination in so many ways. So I'm never going to tell this story, so I could just say what it is here. I had a whole idea in my mind. The Tarman was dreaming. I thought of the Tarman because I read the novelization too. And in my head, I'm like, the Tarman is actually kind of a really sad, tragic character. Like he's kind of like this pathetic, sad, sort of like he just is hungry. I mean, obviously when he goes after, Tina, in the thing, he's scary, but that's just because he's hungry. But I just kind of like have this idea of like he's dreaming and then he wakes up and he's really hungry and he's just kind of like moping around the basement. In the novelization, John Russo writes something that is so scary. And it's not in the movie, and I kind of wish that it was in the movie.
What is it?
Well, first of all, are you drinking seltzer, and what kind of seltzer are you drinking? Or is that SodaStream?
No, it's actually Costco.
Oh, it's Costco.
Soda water.
Okay.
This in Pellegrino.
Nice.
But I do so much of it, and this is
Yeah.
Hey, bubbly.
Yeah. I'm a big seltzer guy. I drink seltzer all day long. So
Me too. I love it.
Yeah.
I usually have a
Good for
glass
you.
with a lime, but I don't have
Yes.
any lime. So darn
that
it.
is my my drink of choice.
What was the scary thing that
Yeah.
John Russo wrote?
So in the novelization, I read it in the middle of the summer. It was like daytime, and I was like, I had like goosebumps from like how scary it was. So Tina walks in to Unita. And hears a voice coming from the basement, and it just says, "Help me. Help me." And I was like, how scary. Tarman's not like he's not like a bad guy. He's like, help me. I'm hungry. Help me. Like, he's not maybe he's not such a bad guy. Maybe he's just really hungry, but he's just like this like sad, pathetic voice is how I imagined it. And to me, it was so scary. I imagine Tina walking in this dark, scary, she's come out of the rain, lightning, thunder, she's soaking wet, she's looking for her boyfriend, and it's a mess. There's stuff is knocked over, the lights are out, and from the deep dark basement, which for some reason she somehow decides to go down anyway, what is she thinking? It says there's a voice that says help me, and she's like, she goes to like check and see what it is.
Is that you? No.
It's just so
God.
it's just so insane. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I'll tell you. No, that was beautiful. I'll tell you though. John Russo's Return of the Living Dead novel.
Yeah.
It's not in print right now. You want to know why?
Why?
Steve Wolsh went after his publisher and said, "You can't print that book." That's why.
Oh man.
Another strike, another Steve Wolsh strike. Yes.
Damn.
But we've been talking with the publisher and John Russo about it as well. Same thing. Same. They go, "What do you know? What's going on?" And so we're sharing information back and forth. But that's another one. My thought was always that I feel really bad for Tarman because he's alive and he's been stuck in that barrel. And it's just like, can you imagine it's like I always think of people trying to claw their way out of a coffin. And I always, poor Tarman has been locked in that barrel and his mind still works, and it's just like, oh my God, it's awful.
That's horrible.
So in my story, this is my story. My story is because I was like, who is the Tarman? Why is he missing his tooth? Like, well, all these things. In my mind, Tarman is a janitor that works at the VA hospital in Pennsylvania, whatever. And this whole debacle, this whole story happens. There's a leak. There's a love interest. Of course, her name is Barbara. Barbara's in another one of those out of the 6 canisters. Barbara's in another one from 68 or whatever, his love or whatever. They both die and get turned into zombies, and they both get corralled into the barrels. But when he's dreaming, you've seen Little Shop of Horrors, right?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah.
So when the scene where she's singing somewhere that's green, and they're in that beautiful picturesque 1950s, like it's very manicured and like wonderful, like 1950s suburbia. In my story, everything shifts as the years pass by in his dreaming state. He's not awake. He's in a dreaming state in my iteration of the story. But that he's with the love interest, Barbara, and they have 2 kids, and they have a wonderful sort of existence or whatever. And there is, and what happens is, they're sitting down to dinner. And when they sit down to dinner, the steam lifts up from what they're eating, and it begins to melt his face. And that is the moment that begins Return of the Living Dead. That's when his dream sort of blends into the movie, and that's when he comes back to life, and he wakes up after being in that dream state for so long. But he's in the basement, and he's like, "Where's Barbara? I'm really hungry," blah, blah, blah. And so the rest of the story was basically from the Tarman's point of view. He sees all of Return of the Living Dead, but from his point of view in the basement. He hears Tina's voice, and at first he's a little frightened, but then he realizes he's hungry, so then he goes after Tina. And then when he gets his head knocked off, it falls down the stairs. It lands upside down on a nail. So he's just sort of upside down, and he's waiting, and it's basically like him, like he overhears the whole conversation that they have with Colonel Glover over the phone, and then that's the end. But that's what I was pitching. That's what I wanted to pitch. And he was just like, no dice. It was a no dice situation.
I love it. I'm glad that you had him dreaming in the barrel. I feel better.
I just like, I just, at first I was like, I could just I'll try to figure out how to do something with it. And I was like, no, like maybe somehow, people do that. People figure out, like, if you want to do something with an IP, contact the person, see if you can get how much is the license? I want to try and, do a run, do a thing. And I never even got to that. I didn't even get a conversation about numbers because it was just like, I already have something. He had a story, allegedly he had a story that was allegedly figured out for the Tarman before and after. And like, I don't remember what he said. He said something. And now, like, who knows what I guess we'll find out tomorrow what his new thing is about. So what is the path forward at the moment for you guys and your team and Richard and everybody? Like, what is the path forward right now?
Well, Richard has been working his ass off, and hopefully the 20th will like start the campaign again.
Yeah.
You know, we
Good.
won't have anybody interfering with it so that we can do this. And it'll be exciting because we're going to film all kinds of places and do a lot of things. And, you know, it's exciting.
Now, I would imagine like the sort of the linchpin, allegedly, the sort of the linchpin to the whole situation would be that like Bill Stout builds a case with all the I mean, there are so many documented instances of the Tarman being, you know, sold by Living Dead
Yes.
Media, that would be the thing that sort of paralyzes their side, that like that's like the nail in the heel, the Achilles heel, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
of the
You're
situation.
right.
Yeah. We'll see. All of these things just seem to take so much time. But yeah, fingers crossed. I just want to get to Linnea's movie and get that going because
Yeah.
it's working so hard on it. And what's happened to them is just so unfair. You know, it's just so wrong. I mean, there's a whole big world here, and people don't need to step on other people's toes for no reason.
It's true. Like there really is in a perfect world, there would be room for everybody. You know,
Yeah.
everybody could win in this situation
Yeah.
if you guys were fairly compensated and maybe had like, sort of like, oh yeah, I want my face on that, or no, I don't want my face on that. That potentially, everybody gets to eat the way that they should eat, and if they
Yeah.
want to eat, that is, and that everybody, if you want to make your thing and you want to make your thing, that there's, in the same way that, I mean, look at all the different zombie films that are out there, period. Everybody kind of does something in some way, shape, or form,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, even The Walking Dead, it's like in
Mhm.
Return of the Living Dead, they established, you hit the brain, you kill them. And that's what The Walking Dead uses. I mean, we could have tried to sue for that, but that's ridiculous.
It's all it's honestly, it's all crazy, and it's so frustrating because like we just want more stuff. Yeah, like the right now the last thing was Return of the Living Dead 4 and 5, and that as we said, that was just not,
Yeah.
that was
That just
bad
sucks.
news.
Yeah.
No, it's that what is it?
Necropolis,
Necropolis.
and
Necropolis sounds awful.
rave to the grave, which has the Tarman, has a Tarman in it. But again, the movies, they're very incoherent. They don't really make any sense.
Oh,
They're very cheap. They look very cheap. They just do not work at all, and it's just been it's so frustrating that there are two more movies, two more movies in the franchise. Not really, because they just have the title, but that they're just so not anything, and some people love part two, some people hate part two, some people love part three, some people hate part three. I personally love both parts 2 and 3, because to me, I look at those three movies, I love them all for different reasons, particularly
right.
1 and 3. You know but yeah, it's like, if you're gonna do, I mean, it'd be nice to have something else that's not this, 4 and 5, which is like the period at the end of the worst sentence ever.
Linnea's will come out and knock your socks off. You'll be fulfilled again.
Yes, that'll be great.
I can't wait. And again, for anybody who's watching this, there's going to be more information. Link will be down in the description here. You can go to Cinebacker, get involved in supporting the creation of this movie.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk and I never shut the fuck up. So right now I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon because we need you!
66 cents. Bev, I wanted to ask, you mentioned you and your husband were trying to get, previously when you were trying to get something off the ground. What is it that your husband is involved in the industry or was involved in the industry in some way? What does your husband do?
Yeah.
What does he do?
He's a production designer.
Oh, he does production design.
Yeah, he just I'm so bad with my husband's movies, but he usually works with Will Ferrell and Adam McKay. He's Don't Look Up.
Oh, I love
Dancing.
that. Love that movie.
Yeah. He does a lot of the Almost Famous. What's the Christmas movie that just came out with Ryan Reynolds? They dance in the water. It's like a Scrooge based. I know. I have to look at my husband's. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible wife.
And your son is a set designer too, right?
Yeah, he is an art director.
Art director. Okay, I knew it was something like that.
He started with here's my husband's website, Clayton Hartley. Okay, Don't Look Up, Anchorman 2.
Wow.
Most Famous, Instant Family, The Big Short.
Wow.
Oh, here's the one I meant. Spirited was the last
Spirited.
one.
Okay. Yeah, I heard that title.
Step Brothers. Oh, the Step Brothers is a really good one.
He did Step Brothers.
Yes.
For those of you who are not aware, like the idea, like the production designer, you have like the writer, you have the director, and then like almost kind of like the third like leg of the tripod in creativity is the production designer. Super important role.
Editor and then production.
Oh yeah,
designer.
sure. Yeah, of course. Editor too.
But
Editor too. Yeah.
It's a big job. Yeah.
It's a huge job. And just in the same way, in the same way that like William Stout was the production designer on Return of the Living Dead, and the look of that movie, we were talking earlier about the Spanish moss and just all these different elements the Tarman, just like all these different elements came from William Stout's brilliant mind. And like so it's such an important role. And then like an art director, if the production designer's like thinking of the big concepts, the art director is almost like they execute that on set, right? Like they are the messenger for the production designer of executing those things.
And my husband was the assistant art director on Return of the Living Dead.
Oh,
that's right. That's how you met, right?
We didn't meet there. We met before there. Before that.
Oh, you did?
My mother introduced us. My mom was a production designer. And she was working with my husband, before he was my husband. And she said, he's such a nice guy. He's from the Midwest, and he's going to marry one of my daughters. That's what she said.
What was your mom a production designer on? Anything?
Scrooge. She did
Scrooge.
Mom's kid in 1941, Lethal Weapon.
Wow.
I don't
Oh
know
my
if
God.
production designed all of those, but she was either a production design or art director. Tales of the
Wow.
Crypt.
Oh my
Um,
God. Tales from the Crypt is like wow.
oh, The Color Purple. Art directed The Color Purple.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, bunch of
I
movies.
didn't know that.
Yeah, my whole family. Yeah,
Yeah.
my
So you showbiz family.
yes. Yes.
Wait, what did your dad did stuff
Camera,
too?
camera. Yeah,
Oh,
my bio dad
yeah.
um, is a he did 90210, I think it was, and then my
Wow.
stepdad raised us. He did a ton of three camera shows all the time, the TV, lots of
Right.
TV. He did the original Seinfeld. He did oh gosh, anyway, I can't remember them all, but a ton, just all the time working, working, working. So very busy film family.
Let me ask you both this I just again I want to thank you both for your time, and this has been really illuminating and interesting to hear from your perspective. And again, you have as we say Rachmanis, which is Yiddish for our compassion, and just like in dealing with the headache of not having the right to your publicity, you should both be entitled to such like such a thing. So what has it been like? This is kind of like a retrospective question, like, just watching, you go to these conventions and you connect with people, like me or whoever who just like are obsessed with this movie. What has that been like for you over over the years in general?
Linnea does a lot of conventions, so go. I'll answer
It's
second.
Yeah.
wonderful to see the movie through their eyes. It's like, and their heart. It's amazing.
By the way, Linnea, since our last conversation, I was watching The Guyver, and I thought you said that your scene was cut. Your scene is totally in there.
Oh,
And
Wow.
I was like, oh, I was like, I turned to my friend. I was like, I just had her on my show when we were just talking on the scene, and there you were. It was so good to see you on there.
that is so funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You getting your residuals? You got to get your residuals from that. MacGyver?
I
Wow.
Yeah,
Wait a
no,
minute.
no,
I
not
don't know
not
if I
MacGyver,
do.
not MacGyver, the Guyver, the Guyver.
The Guyver. It's like a
It's a
sci-fi
yeah, yeah, yeah.
kind of aliens or
Oh, wow.
creatures and
That was produced by Brian Usna and directed by Screaming Mad George.
Steve Wang, right?
Yeah, and Steve Wang. Right. Yeah, it was
Yes.
two directors, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I got the Blu-ray and I had never seen it, and I was just like, oh yes,
Oh, that's
there's the
great. You
scene.
saw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, finally it was good. It was good.
I
Yeah.
end up in a lot of movies like for a few seconds sometimes, little cameos.
Yeah. Yeah, and you
Nice.
too, Bev. You've done a couple of things, right? You've done a couple
Yes.
here and there. You could show up.
Yeah, every
Every
now
now
and
and
then
then.
finally start working again. Yeah, my life has been a home life, raising a child. So, and now
Sure,
I'm,
sure.
Well, Beverly was in a movie when you were how old? Like
oh, baby, Shenandoah with Jimmy Stewart. Yeah, we were the baby.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
You were
Yeah.
in a movie with Jimmy Stewart. That's insane.
I know. Catherine Ross was holding us, and Jimmy Karen's, standing over. She has the baby, Shenandoah. You have to see the movie.
Wait a minute. Wait, I didn't realize. Wait, so you knew James Karen as like, I mean, as when you were a baby, like
No,
James.
Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy
Oh,
Stewart.
oh, I thought you said Jimmy Karen, and I was like, oh, is that maybe that's her? Maybe she says instead
No,
of James, she calls him Jimmy.
Catherine Ross. Catherine
Okay.
Ross is the mom holding us, and
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Got it. I misunderstood.
That's pretty cool.
That is
That's
pretty
cool.
cool.
It's a great picture. I love it. Yeah.
It
Oh yeah,
is.
you got it. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing.
Can we talk about we have a website now that our
Please.
cast, we have a website now where we're just starting to merchandise ourselves and just saying that we're not a part of the other stuff. But it's ROTLD, Return of the Living Dead, ROTLDoriginals.com.
Link is down in the description.
Oh, cool.
It's
Oh,
not there
great.
yet. It's
I
not
know
there
the
yet, but it will
t-shirts
be.
are
It
really
will be.
neat and the poster is amazing.
So far, we have 2 T-shirts out. And we have 4 posters, and it's signed by 7 cast members, so it's pretty exciting. And we did it in the Molotow liquid chrome, so they can't be duplicated. And we've got a sticker that goes on the back, and they're numbered, and they'll come directly from us. So
Hell yeah.
Yep.
it's from us. So
Take
it's,
back the means of
Yes.
production.
yeah. Go
And
to-
Beverly took that over all by herself. It was like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Really?
Beverly.
Well, Richard, bless his heart, Richard, again, Linnea's, producer, director, a friend in Great Britain there, the UK. He's the one who said, "You guys have to do this yourselves. You have to take what's yours back." And he's like, "Well, just start with this." So it was Richard that's made this happen.
Ah.
He was telling me each step, "Well, you got to do this. You got to take something. You got to, So yeah.
But that's how, again, going back to like in the same way that alleged is whatever, like he's doing his thing, trying to like establish marks, like you're doing the same by having Return of the Living Dead originals, link down in the description for anybody who wants to click on it. By doing that, you are also establishing, hey, this is my right of publicity. We're doing our own thing, and like we're here and we're being infringed on. Because at the end of the day, so much of this stuff in courts of law, it always comes down to I have a legitimate right to be making money in this way, and you are infringing on that right, or you are affecting my bottom line by doing what you're doing, or by trying to block me from doing what I'm doing. And that's what all these arguments are about. So by doing that, you are protecting yourselves, or you're establishing yourselves in the right kind of way.
Yeah.
You're right.
And you're proactive about it too, because there's so many out there who would be like, yeah, I'm being exploited, but they don't do anything about it. They don't know how, or
Right.
but you have gotten proactive about it. And that's amazing. That really.
We
Thank
were
you.
blessed when that Richard's attorney wrote us all cease and desist letters. He helped us in the very beginning and said, "You've got to send these out. You've got to stop people from selling your images." So thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Yes,
Yeah,
Richard. Thank you.
Richard. Oh my goodness.
Richard's been great. Richard was great in, setting all this stuff up, and shout out to Richard. And again, I really
yeah.
do. I wish you guys so much success in your endeavor and this movie. And I will absolutely be backing it on Cinebacker. And I'll make sure, when Return of the Living Dead, anything comes up, I'll mention that there is Trash's Revenge is being made, and that you should check out that project too. In fact, you know what I should do actually? I'll put a link at the bottom of the return, because it gets a lot of hits, the Return of the Living Dead novelization. I can put the link down there in the description as well. So that way, hopefully maybe someone will see it and go there. And you have an ally
Yeah, I
in me
did a
for whatever
movie
that's
with
worth.
Richard like 20 years ago called
Really?
Cannibal, which was really fun. It was kind of like Hannibal Lecter type thing.
Okay. Is that available? Is that available anywhere?
I don't know. I'm
check
gonna
that
have
out.
to ask him.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find now.
I think if you go on that Cinebacker website, he's got some of his movies listed.
Oh.
Oh, then that
might
might
be
be
there.
it. Yeah, go to
I'm not-
Cinebacker and
yeah.
look at the movies he's done.
Yeah.
It's been such a frustration in the age of streaming where like, and the fact that like there's a smaller market for physical media with especially in like the all us horror gut people that love physical media, but
Yeah.
like that it's all like, it's really shrinking, and movies are becoming harder and harder to like gain access to. Like they're just not, you can't get a hold of them. And like it's very hard to have archival copies of things. That's why the Scream Factory edition was so important. And then I was super pissed they did this. They released it with more brains, and I almost wanted to rebuy it, but I was like, I own both of them already. Like I
know it's hard.
I have the framed autographed More Brains poster is right over here. I'm looking at it. That was the limited. That was when you guys first put it out.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yeah, it was that was such a great treasure for us, because like it's 2 hours long and you guys just tell all the stories in there. Like that's why it's so hard to like do interviews like this, because it's like, dude, like all the story, like I mean, everything's in there. Like you just got to watch that, and you'll get all the answers to stuff.
But
You
there's
know,
things we forget to put in that. There's like the story about Dan O'Bannon asking why is everybody laughing? There's
right?
I don't think that's in there. So there
Hmm.
are things that are. But what I find fascinating is the horror fans that have these rooms. It's like there's one guy named Rick, and he has this big room and it's wall to wall VHS. And he
Hmm.
watches VHS. He's got probably every horror movie ever made in there. And it blows my mind. But that
Wow.
he has taken and saved Flecka, Rick, I think it's Flecka. But yeah, that's how he is able to hold on to the horror world. It is hard to keep a hold of everything.
Well, you still technically, you can't watch the true cut of Return of the Living Dead. Even the Scream Factory is not the real cut. The soundtrack was cut to ribbons, unfortunately. The cue for the
Ugh.
Damned song, Deadbeat Dance, is not there. What is it? It's Young Something Iranians, by a different band. They
Yeah.
put that in there
Oh,
instead.
yeah.
There's like all these cues are kind of missing, or like the original soundtrack can only be found on the HBO VHS versions of Return of the Living Dead, unfortunately.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Yeah, so the
I didn't know
Scream
that.
Factory, listen, the Scream Factory, like the quality, like the remastering of the audio is fantastic and the picture looks great. And again, like I always go to the Scream Factory and I listen to I've listened to all the commentaries, I think at this point that you guys have done. There's like 6 of them on there. There's a lot of commentaries, which is great. I'll listen to them all. Um, but yeah, that is not the true soundtrack, the original soundtrack, and that was because I think they had trouble. Maybe it was Scream Factory. Somebody had trouble with the rights. Again, it always goes back to rights and the rights
Yeah.
of. So that's interesting. So the Fox family basically turned over the rights, and they're not involved at all anymore with Return of the Living Dead.
Well, I don't think so. I know that Chris Fox and Steve Walsh talk. There's something that's going on. I
Uh,
don't know. So, but he supposedly sold off everything. Mrs. Fox sold everything to Steve Walsh, whatever it is that they actually owned, but that they don't want to talk about.
right. And another thing to clarify, and again, I don't want to take anything away from Tom Fox and what he did. I mean, invaluable without him, there would be no Return of the Living Dead. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, something to clarify is you have many different types of producers. There are some producers that are the incredible people that put the money together so that creativity can happen. There are other producers that are creative. And the reality is like Tom Fox was not a creative entity on that movie, but he was in control of that movie. And so that's another frustrating aspect of just the reality of the business. Some people own things. You own something, you own something. He owned it. But that those, the creative aspects kind of get, taken apart or, shifted in crazy sorts of ways when that stuff happens. And case in point, this is why we don't have more. There isn't more Return of the Living Dead stuff out there because of stuff like this.
That's true. From what Richard said, John Daly had it for a while in England. That the rights were over there.
Right.
Who is John Daly?
He was one
John
of the,
Daly Hemdale.
I'm not familiar.
Oh, they did a lot of movies, a lot of big movies.
But he wasn't involved with the original Return of the Living Dead.
they
No.
weren't they? Remember we met them at the
Wait, yes, they were because it said Hemdale.
Yeah, they were involved.
Yeah,
'Cause
you're right. They were.
Graham Henderson's Hemdale. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. He was the other producer. He's the guy who had Munns excised, right? Like eventually.
yeah.
And what?
He had Munns dismissed, right? Eventually
Yes.
Yeah.
from the situation. Yeah.
He's big gentleman. Yeah.
Right.
Big-
Right.
Very-
Right.
I
Right.
wonder what happened to Bill Munns.
he came in for the documentary and he was so nice. I feel so bad. Yeah.
Actually, I
Oh
was really you
no.
want to know something? In both the book, in the complete history book and in the documentary, I thought it was really nice that he got to like say his piece and got to
Yeah.
speak from his perspective. And look, when you look at the pictures of the cadaver and you see what he was trying to do, like versus the things that he says, it kind of allows you as the viewer to be like, okay, what do I want to believe here? Like where's like where on what level is the credibility here? Because like what he's saying makes sense, like in terms of like how he was trying to do whatever he had to do. But then you look at the work that he was doing and what was expected to be. And I can imagine a guy, I don't mean you guys knew Dan O'Bannon, I didn't know him, but from all the things that I've read about him, for that work to come in to have so much pressure. It's your first film that you're directing and yada yada yada, and you have 6 weeks to shoot it, and something like that, which could make or break the movie, happens.
Yes. Yes.
Scary.
I know Bill Munns gave me gasoline to take off that white makeup that was on me, which is not a good thing to give someone to put on their skin.
Oh my Lord.
No
Did you have
way.
like a rash
Yes.
from that?
The what?
You had you must have broken out. Like it was a rash. Did you get a rash or something from the gasoline?
My skin got red. I luckily didn't do it very much on myself, but I would go home white, in the morning
When you think
when
what
we
about baby
when we
oil?
wrap
That's-
like at 6 a.m. or something.
Those were I can't, but baby oil, wouldn't you have thought that baby oil would have taken that off?
I would think so. That would be a lot safer.
Yes.
Yeah.
True. Oh my God.
Gasoline. And it's like he's the expert. So he's going to you, like
Yeah.
he's coming from a place of authority of like, hey, I'm the makeup guy doing the makeup thing.
Mhm.
He's like, here, and you're the actress who is, just trying to do your thing.
Trusting
and it's like,
him.
right,
Yeah.
trusting, right, exactly. And it's like, what? Like this is weird. Like this doesn't feel right,
Yeah,
Hope-
it didn't. I'm like, this seems weird.
That would have been such a lawsuit today. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Can you
Oh, you're
imagine?
right. It would be. Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. So the set at the end, the attic set, when you guys are in the attic, and that was like not actually in an attic, it was only like a foot off the ground,
Yeah.
right, and whatnot. Like I had heard that there is a jar of teeth because the whole idea of Ernie, which is such a incredible detail. And again, this is the brilliance of good. It's you come from a family of production designers, really
Easter eggs.
really good production design. Like just puts like it's all in the details, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not, the last name, the music, the posters that he has behind him. He's carrying a Luger, but not. And again, like not like his character is so opposite of anything that would be. It kind of just adds to the whole tongue in cheek aspect. And he works in a crematorium of all things. It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
But
It
was there a
is.
jar of teeth? Where is the jar of teeth? I've never been able to find this jar of
I
teeth.
do remember that now. I do remember that there was a jar of teeth up there. Yeah. That's so funny that you say that because it was like yeah.
Which is
I
supposed to be an Easter egg that, again, that's because,
I'll ask my husband. Yeah, because the Nazi.
right, exactly.
Yes.
Which is so crazy. Oh, here's another one. Okay, Bev. There's a scene where Linnea is you see her with her fellow zombies
Yes.
at the end as the bomb is coming down. It's like
Yeah.
it almost looks like a freeze frame in the movie. I asked Linnea about this last time. I just was curious if you had any additional memories. Linnea said that, I was, standing there, I just stood there for 5 seconds and they got me. Do you remember there being any kind of like anything to do with that, like what that was about, or maybe was there supposed to be anything else involved with that, or is it literally just supposed to be it was just an insert of them looking up?
Well, that's when the
I
bomb
think it was
coming down.
I think it was just like they got me in makeup again, and then we just like were looking at the sky because we heard something.
Yeah, I was say you heard the
I
bomb.
think that was it.
Because it's like it seems like so much for just this tiny little freeze frame. It just always
I
bothered me. I was
know. I
like,
had to
there
put
has
get
to be
that makeup
more.
on and everything, just for that little thing.
Ugh.
Okay, I
That
have one more thing, and then we can wrap up here. Here's something I've always noticed in the basement. If you look at the editing, again, going back to like details, you notice that there's an insert of the tar man covered in blood before he even uh you see the tar man covered in blood inserted before he even bites Suicide's head. What is that about? Did that happen in the edit afterwards? Why? I could never understand why that was placed there in that way. What did it have something to do with the way that the scene was shot? Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, no, I was cutting you off. I'm sorry. I think you're right. I think it was maybe a second take, maybe. They did a
Oh,
second take of
Oh,
it and they got
okay.
caught with the blood on, and then they went in for a close up of the head bite. So it must have been it was a mistake.
Yeah.
wow.
Okay, that's a mistake. Okay.
But again, just from watching that movie so many times, it's like, and then like, you freeze frame and you look and you're just like, whoa, wait, what? Why is that?
Why is there
You know,
blood?
yeah, it's just,
Well, I gotta watch for it now.
yeah. Oh, you'll see it. You'll see it. You
I
won't be
don't
able to
remember
unsee
that.
it.
You're very observant.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, I have watched this movie,
Wow.
this was the movie when when I would entertain, dates, when,
Oh.
we would, sit on the couch to watch a horror movie. I always put on Return of the Living Dead. I've
Oh.
seen Return of the Living Dead so many times. And now, the first time I saw it, I was 10
Yeah.
on sci-fi, as I said. And now my son, he's 9. And I'm like, obviously there are certain parts he most certainly, I don't want him to see, like he cannot
Right.
see. But, I'm like, it's almost like a rite of passage. Like I very much want to show up. Like, I don't know if he's ready yet, but like, I wouldn't push him. He loves horror stuff and all that stuff and Tarman and this then he sits there and what's that? What's that? On the other side of this basement, there's all this stuff.
Oh.
What's that? What's that? I think it's very soon it'll be time to show him, maybe with some cover your eyes moments, obviously. Or
Exactly. Or he'll be like sleeping in your bed every night, like,
Well, he's the same way. It's the same sort of kinder trauma. It's, you see something, it scares you, but it fascinates you. It opens up your
yes.
imagination, and that's how that's like the foundation of creativity. Why is this like this? And then you start thinking and dreaming and wondering, and then get creative in your own way. And I don't know.
Yes.
So.
Very cool.
Listen, guys, thank you again so
Thank
much
you.
for coming on here and doing this. And I will be championing your project. And I really do wish you all of the best of luck in the filmmaking field and the litigation field and just all that unnecessary necessariness, unfortunately, right? At the end
Yeah.
of the
All
day.
the lawyer fees. Oh my God.
Oh,
Those are
yeah.
the winners, right? At the end of the day,
That's the
they end up being the winners. It's called, what is that Greek term? The Pyrrhic victory, where
winners.
the means the you may have won the battle, but there's nothing, like
Yeah.
what for,
Yeah. The money that Richard has to put out for all of everything, and the money we've had to put out to defend ourselves. It's ridiculous. It's shameful. Yeah.
It
Not on
is.
the part of the attorneys, but shameful that we've had to deal with it. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Not
right,
right.
right.
So
So once again, just look for all the links down in the description. Two things that you really want to be aware of. Cinebackers. There's going to be a Cinebacker where you can contribute to the creation of Trash's Revenge, uh,
And the
and
website.
and Return of the Living Dead Originals, which is ROTLD originals.com. Down in the description, where you can get officially, if you want stuff that's signed, get it from there. And they use special markers so they, don't run and they can't be counterfeited and get it from the source.
Copied.
It can't be copied. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Yes.
Get it from the source. Okay. The link to that will be down in the description. Honestly, again, I just want to say, as a fan, like it really is. It is such an honor to speak with both of you. And again, like I said this to Linnea the last time, like in my mind, you both of you guys, you loom larger in my mind because I've been watching you on my screen since I was young. And like, it's like you're obviously you, but you guys are also like Tina and Trash, like forever for me. Like, it's crazy.
10-year-old Jeff.
It's crazy to hear you say that. 10-year-old, like that blows my mind. That tickles me pink. That tickles me. And as always, as we say here, we say peace, hair grease, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right, and we're out. Show is over.
Thank you.
And there you have it, folks. The record has been recorded. And man, it was so great to have them on. I really did thoroughly enjoy that. It was a treat. Again, when you get to talk to people that you've been watching on your TV screen in one form or another for decades, it really is, there's nothing like it. It's a type of celebrity that pales in comparison to all else. You know what I mean? Because I said this last time, inside of their TV, they are like this immortalized thing that you've been watching forever as you age and grow as a person. And now it's like, here they are separate from that thing in the flesh, All right, that's enough.